Arc Raiders is the best extraction shooter ever made, and the only extraction shooter I've ever played. Gotcha. Okay, so obviously that has something to do with my review, but I think I'd like it more than any other extraction shooter if I were to play them as well. It's just an educated guess. And my reasoning isn't entirely due to the mechanics. The mechanics are good, but there are so many interesting moving parts here. On the surface, the game is relatively simple. The year is a while from now. Killer robots rule the earth. It's a third-person shooter. ADS, sprint, use bandages and shields, some other cool toys. But what caught my attention, and why I think this game is better than Tarkov or Marathon or any other game like it, is its cinematic feel. Arc Raiders is a walking, breathing, living movie, set in a world you may recognize but find so strange and distant all at once. At face value, this game has a premise that doesn't seem revolutionary, but when I slew my first Arc machine, I knew that I was experiencing something really special. The purpose of this video isn't to convince you to give extraction shooters a chance. I think you should give Arc Raiders a chance. I'm trying to convince you to play Arc Raiders because it is a compelling gaming experience and something worth playing on the grounds of its artistic merit. Even if you're not particularly interested in extraction shooters at all, I haven't played a game that feels like it has this much depth in a long time. There's just one unignorable problem, and if it's enough to get you to not consider playing the game at all, I understand completely. Arc Raiders is a game developed by Embark Studios, a team of industry veterans who were behind the Finals and a couple of Battlefield games you may have remembered growing up. The Finals has quietly attracted a relatively small but committed audience on the basis of its novel game design, its reliance on physics and destruction especially. But Arc Raiders is nothing like the Finals. Even though apparently they share lore, which is a discussion for another time, the Finals is a competitive multiplayer game. Arc Raiders is an extraction shooter. PvP elements are there, yeah, but it's not the sole focus. You could call it a PvEvP game, which I understand may confuse people the first time I say that phrase, because it is not in the Bible. For those who are unfamiliar, an extraction shooter describes a genre of game where you build an ongoing inventory of items that you forage for in a given game world. You craft those materials into more powerful gear or things that will help you craft more powerful gear. You share this game world with other players who you can often make short-term strategic alliances with, but oftentimes you can and will just end up getting into a gunfight with them where the victor takes the spoils.
Guys, I've been trying to get wires for like the past 4 games, please. I just want to get these wires out, guys. Please. Nobi, you sacrificed yourself for me?
Tell him I said he can take my shit. You leave.
My teammate says you can take your shit. I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you, bro. Much love. Peace.
Go, quick. Just hit the button, quick, hit the button, boy. Yes, he's hitting it. Come on. Almost there.
Oh my god! Oh my god! He killed me. Dude, he killed me.
You're lying.
I'm serious.
But sometimes it's expedient to make impromptu alliances when you encounter powerful enemies. The surface world is controlled by a mysterious robot force known as the Arc. Arcs come in all manners of shapes and sizes, ranging from the small but deadly to the size of a building, and quite obviously deadly. You have to extract before a certain time limit, and this isn't a soft extract timer. It's not like you get a couple seconds of extra window to escape. No. What they do is a lot more straightforward in this game. Their solution, the Arc's solution to your unwanted human presence on the Earth's surface, is a ballistic missile.
Here it comes.
Extraction shooters are often criticized as commodities, in the same way battle royales are criticized as commodities. It's often described as trend chasing and artistically vapid, just checking boxes on a list of design decisions to hit a certain target market. When Bungie's Marathon, for instance, was revealed to be an extraction shooter, it ticked a lot of gamers off. Many people were excited to see the rebirth of a curated single-player experience that the previous Marathon games exhibited. Live service multiplayer games are a gamble for the players supporting them and the devs making them, and they don't always go well. Extraction shooters in particular are such relatively uncharted territory, but the game that really made them well known hasn't even really been out yet for that long, technically. Now, there are some instances you may have been familiar with. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the reboot, saw the advent of its own extraction-style game mode called DMZ, which lasted about 5 minutes. A game called The Cycle Frontier had a bit of a cult following, but that relatively small dev team wasn't able to get the game the audience size it needed to justify keeping the lights on. This vicious cycle tends to happen because every single extraction shooter ends up existing in the shadow of Escape from Tarkov. A lot of people really like Tarkov, but due to its strong tactical nature, it's not exactly a game for everybody. It's got minimal HUD, it's got near instantaneous T2K, it feels closer to a milsim game like Squad or Arma than Call of Duty, that's for sure. Tarkov thrives thanks to those aspects, but it also swims just a little too far in the tactical ocean to get a mainstream audience. It's not for everybody. This is news to me, but the game hasn't even really been out yet for as long as you think. The date of the 1.0 release is the 15th of November, the day that I'm recording this. That's right, this game was treated like an early access, build the airplane in the air kind of game for close to 8 years. That's a good precedent to set in the industry, don't you think? So yeah, there have been opportunities to eat Tarkov's lunch, but none of them really got there until recently, until Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders is profoundly popular. 700,000 concurrent players popular. Arc has managed to burst through the targeted advertising realm into the average gamer's daily rotation. I think Embark Studios have accomplished this by, as PC Gamer put it, making an extraction shooter for people with jobs. Arc manages to be an extraction shooter for people with jobs by doing a few things. One, the actual game world is awesome. The killer robots are genuinely cool designs, and the weather effects, landscapes, and lighting of this desolate Earth surface are captivating to explore. Two, the actual, extraction shooter systems, like the looting, the inventory system, how crafting works, all of that is a lot more streamlined than other games of this nature, and perhaps motivated in small part due to Swedish social democracy. The cool part is how good of a job Arc Raiders does of meshing these two pieces together. The game gets its name from the Ark, a force of mysterious, deadly robotic machines that have dominion over the ravaged wastes of planet Earth, and the player characters, Raiders. Humanity lives underground, safe from the killer robots. Raiders go topside and take stuff back home to recycle into more stuff. Cloth, mechanical, electrical parts, wires, etc., etc. Trust people as far as they can aim the barrel of a gun at you, because they can and often will. Like I said, this isn't revolutionary, but it doesn't have to be. And Embark made some smart design decisions having to do with the average player's experience to make the game feel accommodating of people's time. There are progressively more powerful weapons, yeah, but the base starting weapons you get aren't really that worse, quote unquote, than the better weapons as far as fighting player versus player. And if you want to be technical about it, you can 1v1 a lot of powerful mobs, even the base ones, with this level 1 break action rifle. The distinctions in weaponry and weapon types come down to whether or not they can help you efficiently fight. More powerful armored arc opponents, like the looming Rocketeer, or the stalking Leaper, or the menacing Queen, require teamwork and tactics to take down efficiently. Keyword efficiently. Some of these opponents can be taken down by yourself, but it's a huge pain in the butt, so it's a proportional reward. The gap between one player's amazing loot and one player's free loot isn't gonna make or break the engagement. Winning a player versus player engagement in Arc Raiders comes down to smart tactics and fundamentals, not gear.
Yo, man, let's be friends, bro. I don't think he wants to be friends.
The more powerful weapons, like the Hull Cracker, are designed to take down Arc machines, not just players. And the steps you take to acquire these more powerful weapons will put you on a journey through some of the coolest gaming environments you will ever see. From the moment you take your first steps in Arc Raiders, you feel like you've been swept into another world. But the first thing that will really strike you is the sound design. The bells and whistles are all there. Whirring, rippling winds that seem to cut through your clothes. Landscapes rich with color whilst carrying eerie, desolate tones. Ragtag, scrappy, gun-toting humans scurry across the surface to strip what valuable resources they can from ghosts. And the low, dreary, rumbling, vibrant hum drums the inside of your ear. And it gets louder and louder, and you realize you need to run or hide. That tension is what makes the game so freaking fun. Arc Raiders is a cinematic game. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. It's an immersive game that takes full advantage of its medium to really put you in a world where dangerous machines of all kinds clamber across it in ever-present danger to you, and where encounters with other people like you are marked with a tension that can be quickly diffused, either peacefully or violently.
Kill that man!
No, he was friendly, dog. Why would you do that? I'm sorry, dog. He's
Oh, my bad. Sorry, bro.
But it's not an impossible world to navigate. It's not a pessimistic, angry, oppressive apocalypse. Not that there are nice apocalypses. Arc Raiders manages to strike this weird needle. It's a thoroughfare where a little too much sweat would make the game feel oppressive, but not enough stakes would make the game feel like a waste of time. Arc manages to hit this needle right in the center, and I think one component of it is its cinematic appeal. I know everybody's interested in this game for the fact that it's a co-op game, but it's worth playing this game by yourself to appreciate its stillness. Your friends aren't cracking jokes or constantly yapping. Not that there's anything wrong with that, it's just you and the noises of the surface world. Wind rustling, the rain, gunshots from a mile away, the sound of your own footsteps, your feet striking the dirt or metal stairs, either outside or inside, and occasionally a killer robot flies by. But if you're careful, you can hide from its view entirely. Even when you do something as simple as walk a quarter mile to a building and carefully traverse through its tin metal sounding rooms for a battery, that experience still feels like a cinematic moment that I couldn't really get in a competitive multiplayer game. And that's not to say this game isn't sweaty. People will keep to themselves if they're unsure of you. One moment I'm saying thanks to a stranger.
Oh, wait, you didn't happen to find any bandages or anything, did you? My man. Thank you so much, dude.
Then I'm getting left to bleed out by another. And on occasion, the polite ones will say sorry before blowing you away in your final moments.
Yo, man. Let's be friends. Let's be friends, bro. I don't think he wants to be friends. Dude, come on, man. Oh, you killed my homie, bro. Please, dude. Don't you have a defib or something?
Ark is a game that lets the pieces fall where they may. It doesn't force people to play in a particular kind of way, but it's not going to hold your hand either. To that end, the gunplay is intense and satisfying. Now, I wouldn't go as far to call it realistic, but it feels realistic. It's definitely amplified in intensity by the incredible sound design. Every gun pops with reverb that feels shaped. It meshes with the environment. Outside, shots boom and trail off into the air while they bounce and echo with tinny highlights inside buildings. But the gun that will break the tension the fastest when you first start playing the game is the Pharaoh.
Shoot the knees. Shoot the knees.
Oh, and bro, the way it looked directly at me. What the? Bro. brother.
It's one of the first crap guns that you can buy at the store for cheap or make it a workbench. But what if I told you it wasn't crap? In fact, the level 1 Pharaoh, level 1, is capable of taking down a Rocketeer. Is it as efficient as a more powerful anti-armor weapon? No, but it is possible. The other guns aren't bad per se. You can make a pistol, a short-range SMG, an assault rifle, but each of these bad guns has a significant drawback to incentivize you to keep playing the game and get better guns. Naturally, it's a looter shooter. But the Pharaoh is the gun that really exemplifies to me what Arc Raiders is all about. It's a single-shot weapon, a break-action rifle that fires heavy ammo as opposed to medium or light ammo or shotgun shells. It's loud, it's obtuse. All the guns in Arc Raiders are obtuse really, but this one has a big fat barrel shroud. The Pharaoh can crack your shield in one go. It's scary, and if you miss, you're screwed. Shots in Arc Raiders feel earned. There's bullet drop and bullet time. If you put the crosshair right on top of the flying robot while it's moving, it's gonna miss. But shots that you hit in Arc Raiders are a strategic boon, because it means you're not wasting your ammo, which always runs out a lot faster than you may expect. That's one nice thing about the Pharaoh as well. More bang for your buck, quite literally. Gunfights with players are relatively fast-paced and have all the bells and whistles of a typical PvP third-person shooter. But fighting the Ark is a whole different story, and in my opinion, where the fun parts of the game start to shine. When you strike a killer robot in a critical zone, it pays off immediately, and in a display that's fun to watch. If it's not a killing blow, it will react realistically by withstanding the strike and lurching backwards like a living thing before directing its attention towards you. The game's physics-based elements you may have seen exercised in the finals come to life in Arc Raiders in interesting ways. Heavy caliber weapons like the Pharaoh will send an arc machine on its hind legs at the moment of impact, but smaller calibers do not carry as much kinetic power, and they'll just pepper it a little bit. Destroying an arc machine feels like taking down mechanical big game. Shooting a wasp's thrusters sends it flying right off. As a result, the construction will barrel haphazardly and out of balance right into the ground before bursting into flames. Even the more quote-unquote non-lethal robots, like the Snitch, need a couple well-placed shots to be brought all the way down. And the smallest of arc machines are not to be trifled with. In a group of 3, it's relatively easy to take them down, but if you're by yourself, it's easy to get overwhelmed and taken down by even the lowest level arc mobs.
Oh, look at that thing. It's chilling on the wall. Look at that above. They're on the wall.
Exactly.
Oh
That's what I was saying.
my gosh. So you gotta what?
What makes the Ark such a compelling opponent? It's probably worth taking a look at the design process for these machines from Embark themselves. This is one of the first prototypes of the Queen Arc machine. It's a giant killer crab monster that fires a giant crab laser and giant crab mortars, and it slams its big giant crab legs when you get too close. The giant destructive weapons are probably a dead giveaway the moment you see this thing. It's really big, it's really scary looking, but the Queen wasn't always this scary. The Queen used to struggle to walk at all. It struggled to walk up hills. It struggled to stay balanced when heavy objects collided with it. Embark basically put all of their robots in process-oriented environments where they had to learn how to walk, run, and jump around of their own accord and process their own animations naturally, which might explain why these machines feel like real living things. The Leaper jumps at you in this uncanny but still ever so slightly different way every single time, even if it's in the ballpark every time. The same way a baseball pitcher might have an iconic windup but little micro movements that deviate with each throw. This is what Embark's utilization of machine learning in Arc Raiders looks like. And it doesn't just determine how the machines navigate the game world, it also affects their decision making and behavior. If you've played the game for long enough, you may notice that the AI seems to navigate through the world in a way that you can't really explain. Their animations don't feel too static, they don't seem to be going through a checklist, and they do seem to respond to visual line of sight, namely by trying to murder you quickly thereafter. But they don't always behave the exact same way every single time.
Listen, it's gonna come after you now.
Oh shit.
Hide, and I'm coming, okay? Where are you? No. Whatever you're doing, just stop moving away from.
I know. I had to close the door. I closed the door on it. Oh my! It's so smart. No.
Sometimes a flying machine will fly past you, other times it will investigate and force you to make a decision quickly. When you're not out in the complete open in a barren field, the occasional flying patrol arc is a lot less scary, though you'll need to hit your shots regardless. Throw in things like a time constraint and suddenly, even the most basic of Arc Raider mobs can become hindrances in your ability to extract safely. The small but deadly hornets and wasps will fly to cut you off at exits to buildings. The bounding leapers will hunt you down off of their own memory of where you were when you last engaged them. The Rocketeer will find different angles of attack to shoot barrages at you should you engage it from a position of hard cover. These machines are not just following if-then statements. They're not just following trees of behavior options. They're reacting realistically to a number of different things, the same way that a person might. To your benefit, you also get details on how to deal with these machines from a tactical point of view by reading the handy-dandy codex. But you'll also learn rather quickly that every arc has a distinct weakness in this game. Flying opponents can have their thrusters shot off to send them careening into the ground. Crab-walking arcs can be shot in the joints to make them clamber aimlessly. But Arc Raiders isn't always about fighting. Sometimes, and oftentimes really, it's about running away. One way to live, rather than get blown into chunks by a killer robot, is to understand the terrain. Even the most basic mobs in Arc Raiders feel like earned kills, but the terrain can make all the difference in fighting them. And every single time you go out in the game world, that's time that you've spent learning the world map just a little bit more. That's valuable. It can be the difference between taking a staircase or not taking a staircase. Oftentimes, buildings can be separated by something as fundamental as a blown apart bridge, requiring you to find a staircase that brings you to a different elevation level completely. The maps of Arc Raiders feel massive, but approachable. Your ability to navigate the terrain is dictated not just by thinking of the fastest route, but also of the most tactically advantageous way to either avoid arc machines or engage them out of strategic necessity. You'll learn something every single time you go out for a raid, even if you die. It's easy to get clapped in the back of the head in Arc Raiders. You're gonna die in Arc Raiders. That's just the nature of these games. And you'll lose everything on your person. It's not the end of the world though, because as I said earlier, the difference between the best PvP loadout and the worst PvP loadout isn't that far. The game also has a lot of quality of life aspects that aren't found in other games like this. For one, you get a pet chicken, which is kind of awesome. It'll scrounge for basic crafting mats in between your raids. That way, you always have just enough of a baseline of mats to make things like bandages, so you're never at a complete zero. It's kind of like a video game UBI? Embark's form of gamocratic socialism is a welcome breath of fresh air for a genre that's typically maligned as sweaty and punishing to the point of tedium. It also does away with a mechanic that a lot of people have mixed feelings about. Extraction shooters often rely on a time constraint to promote a certain sense of urgency in looting, and that is with the universal wipe. It's basically a Thanos snap throughout a particular game of this nature to put everybody on an even slate, get rid of their loot, and promote them to come back on an even footing with the rest of the competition. It's not necessarily a bad system, but it's a system that 9-to-5ers can't really take advantage of, since the time you would need to invest to even notice the effects of such a thing are pretty significant. However, some people argue actually it's the other way around. All the sweats get to farm all the gear, and then the 9-to-5ers can't compete. Arc Raiders has come up with a solution that makes everybody happy by instituting optional wipes. If you want the prestige of a wipe, you can participate in an expedition project every 8 weeks or so, where after assembling a metric crap ton of supplies, you can send your raider out into the wild blue yonder, never to be seen again from Mother Base. You get some benefits in addition to bragging rights like increased XP gain, increased item collection from your pet chicken, more stash space, and even bonus skill points. It's an interesting way to have the prestige of a wipe and a long-term investment in your career on Arc Raiders at the same time. The game also has a questing system that helps you get gradually more ingratiated to the game's inner workings. It will send you on progressively more involved quests that interface with its functions. It'll teach you how to loot, what a field depot is, what the deal is with those weird little beepy things that fall on the ground, and you may die a couple of times along the way, but that's okay, because one thing that the game also does, as a sort of gamer social safety net, is a free loadout. There's not really a rock bottom in Arc Raiders. Embark is a Swedish company after all and a bastion of social gamocracy. Free loadouts give you a randomized set of weapons and basic survival consumables like bandages and shield rechargers that give you a baseline to go out into the world and make things happen. And if you randomly roll for a pharaoh, consider yourself lucky. If you roll a hairpin, well, just try to keep your head down. I really like the emphasis that Arc Raiders puts on ensuring that there's no rock bottom per se. I also feel like the weapons have damage that's earned and impactful. This game does not suffer from the sort of, quote, bullet sponge approach to game design that so many in this genre have done in the past to mixed effects. One game that I think a lot of people will draw comparisons to is The Division, a game that was in many ways responsible for giving us our first taste of PvEVP, sort of shooter game with looting mechanics sort of games. And I liked The Division, but the game's immersive qualities are constantly broken up by the bullet spongy enemies and the fact that it was designed as an RPG. Arc Raiders is devoid of that jank. It's not completely devoid of that jank. Well, it has jank in a really significant way that we gotta talk about.
Something's changed. We've seen a lot more probes beaming across the skies. More crashed couriers. We've heard tales of what happens if they find what they're looking for. They might be myths, but I don't want us finding out the hard way.
So, did that voice line sound a little weird to you? Because it sounded fine to me. I'm kidding, I'm not a robot. Embark has continued their practice of using AI for creative efforts in Arc Raiders. But I want to make it very clear, this AI is not the same kind of fully generative brain rot AI you may be thinking of. Some people have a hard line, don't cross the picket line sort of stance on this stuff, but if you're going to do that, I think it's important to understand what you're protesting. This game uses generated voice lines. But what happens here is a voice actor comes in for a contract, says some voice samples, and they get paid for that voice print. The team at Embark filters it through a computer to make the computer say different things, and then they create what's basically a modern version of text-to-speech. Microsoft Sam isn't so innocent after all. Now is he? Personal opinion, I don't like the text-to-speech voice lines. I think that Embark is making more than enough money to fully voice their game, especially when you have 700,000 people playing your game. They're out of excuses. If they have the capacity to retroactively go through the game and fully voice it, I think they should. Does that mean that what they've done is unethical? No, I don't think so. It's a distinct difference between fully generative AI in the terms of something like an LLM or whatever the hell Black Ops 7 just did. Here, a consenting contractor was paid for the usage of their voice. Whether or not you still find the grievance with this probably comes down to where you lie left to right in matters of economy. If you're a much more left-leaning person, you'll probably argue that it doesn't matter that the contractor consented to this practice, because the enforcement of the practice simply encourages more devs like Embark to continue corner cutting and pushing artistry out of the creative world. If you're more right-leaning, you probably think that people will determine what kind of business practices they want in the world by choosing to support it or not support it. And as it stands, a hell of a lot of people are supporting it. My stance is one of cognitive dissonance. I'm not happy about the AI voice lines, but the game is really fun. I'm gonna let the cognitive dissonance win. I'm not a fan of generative AI, but I'm gonna keep playing the game because it's awesome. The game carries a great deal of artistic depth where it is evident. The gameplay loop is satisfying, and I want to learn more about the mysterious killer robot menace. The irony of the game utilizing machines for the sake of its own development is not lost on me. We live in an interesting time. The timing for this game could not have been better. In a world of great economic uncertainty, people have less and less patience for hyper-competitive games. Rather, it may not necessarily be that they don't appreciate competition, they just don't want competition all the freaking time throughout every waking moment of their daily life. Arc Raiders is a game that scratches the itch that exists in all of us to say, I can beat the machine. I don't care if it tries to outsmart me. I don't care how big it is. I don't care how fast it is. I can beat the machine with the right tools in the right place at the right time. And if I can do it with some friends, hey, even better. Arc Raiders makes me think about what my fellow West Virginia neighbors would be doing in the hills of Pocahontas County if the robot menace descended upon us all. I have a feeling it wouldn't look too far off from Arc Raiders. I'm sure it would involve a couple of 30-06 rifles, some dusty guitars, and a couple cast iron skeletons. Whether or not you choose to support the game on moral grounds is up to you. My personal opinion is that what Embark did here is not the same thing as completely and totally fully generative AI like an LLM. And while I'm not thrilled about the AI voice acting, I think the whole package is still worth experiencing in and of itself. I highly encourage you to give Arc Raiders a try. Subscribe for more videos like this one on Couch Co-op. Thanks for watching.